Introverts of Reddit, when was the most inconvenient time your social battery ran out? I have been at a few parties where I just suddenly didn't want to be there and had to leave. It's like a light switch is shut off in my head. I've walked home rather than wait for my ride to be ready to go. I always find that those walks home, while frustrating to start, always ends up being somewhat refreshing for me. Even though I am not comfortably at home, I am doing what I want and not under social pressure. The moment I walked into a party, my roommate had taken me along with him and I knew no one there, so I pulled a Batman and vanished while he was looking away. The good old Irish goodbye. At the family dinner right after my brother's funeral. At the funeral, I was able to be that person that received all the hugs and said hello to a ton of people I hadn't seen in years. I kept it together for the most part. However, I also have a really big, and overly dramatic, family, and by the end of it all I was ready to be alone. So I was happy sitting in my chair at the table while everyone else mingled among themselves. Sorry about your brother, man. I was an orientation leader, basically a long week of showing freshmen around campus, and I crashed hard by Wednesday. Little did I know we were also expected to go out partying with the staff in the evenings, so our days would be 8 AM to 10 PM with the first years, then 11 PM to 2 AM with our staff. It was heck. Dang, I think I fried my own social circuits just from reading this. Get halfway through telling a story, realize it's longer than I remembered and have to gruel through the rest of it. Oh my god. Anytime I start a story without realizing how many backstories and side stories I have to tell in order to make them understand the main story absolutely kills my battery. My wife and I had a couple who mildly annoys me over for dinner and a board game. Game ended around 10 PM. I was at the drain point. Was a perfect time for goodbyes. And then my wife went to the sitting room and started a whole new conversation with them. 20 minutes later, I faked being asleep to get them to leave. In the middle of a conversation with my extrovert friend who dragged me to this party, wouldn't stop bugging me about it. Guess I looked bummed. I hate when people call you out on being an introvert and make it seem like they're better than you cause they're always surrounded by people. My job is retail, so generally my social battery is on all day, and when I go out with my girlfriend it's hard to be in a social scene. I'm physically exhausted and I need the rest of the day just to re-energize. Every day, I miss going out. One of these days I'll figure it out. I work retail too. About 5 minutes into my shift it takes everything in me not to tell everyone to frick off. I had broke up with a girlfriend and a very extroverted friend of mine asked me to hang out and party with him and some of his very extroverted friends. I said frick it and went. It started out good, but by the third bar we jumped. I was exhausted and ready to crash. Crappy thing was that we took my car and I couldn't leave without them. We ended up going to this high-end club in Chicago and they bought bottle service for like $500. They all got drunk as frick and started urging me to get drunk, so I had to sip on water pretending that it was vodka. I pretty much spent the night trying to avoid the hordes of drunk people raving to loud as frick dance music while I had to manage my anxiety so I didn't completely melt down. Afterwards I dropped their asses off, went home, and completely shut myself out from the world for a week. TBH 3 places in a row is my limit period, day or night. The worst time was while house hunting. That was a problem because I really needed to find a house and being exhausted, drained, so done with the whole situation was not a good mentality for trying to evaluate a potential home. I did find a good place. For your information. I feel you. I was at the mall the other day and right after I finished checking out at a store, my battery hit 0. I had to find a secluded bench away from everyone and take a few deep breaths and remind myself that I still had to visit a few more stores. I did so, just quite grouchily. Probably any of those times where my friend would say, hey man, we're gonna just be a few PPL playing Smash Bros or Mario Kart. Gonna hit the bong, wanna chill? And I'm like, yeah sure, sounds good. I get there, and legit 20 minutes in, friend is like, oh crap, you're there's at party tonight? Let's hit the bar then go the party, and I'm like, yeah sounds good, but I'm secretly like no. We end up at some house party with like 50 plus people and I turn into Michael Cera from Superbad. Why do I do this? That's how they get ya. They know you won't come out, so they dangle a piece of meat outside your cave and go, "It's okay buddy, we won't hurt you." And then once you creep into the open to grab the food, they throw the net over you and drag you to the Thunderdome. When I was hosting a party with my roommate, I went to my room, laid on my bed, and stared at the ceiling until 3/4 of the people left. Definitely been the host and taken a nap mid-party. My friend of 12 years from USA, I'm UK, came over. We met for the first time, and after 2 hours of us playing couch games like Overcooked, I was pooped. I just wanted to play a single player game. So I showed my friend my Oculus Rift. She loved it, played it for a good hour after I set it up. Meanwhile, I leave the room quietly pretending I'm still in the room, and I go to the bathroom with my 3DS to play Bravely Second. To this day they never knew I abandoned them for an hour. I'm no longer dating her, so I don't feel bad, but right in the middle of my ex's mom's birthday, where I was meeting her entire extended family, her aunt got really drunk and passed out in the only bedroom I could have hid in, so I faked feeling sick and hid in the bathroom. I was bored, and that's how I found out her mom keeps all her sex toys in a basket above her bathroom towels. Terrible place to hide sex toys. Everyone knows you hide them in your sock drawer. A couple years into my marriage, when I had been busting my balls for years trying to make her think I was extroverted like her, we're still married. I think she kinda always knew. I've actually gotten pretty good at faking extroversion and being the center of attention and even the life of the party. But I will always 100% look for any excuse to get out of social events. Especially cause our kids are also extroverts and wanna go too, and I'm just here, all alone, recharging so hard. It had been a long week at work. It was too hot and my train was delayed and keep changing platforms. Got on and there wasn't enough seats. This immigrant family with 2 really little kids are standing up without anything to hold on to, and no one is giving up a seat. So I gather up what energy I have left, poke the most able-bodied looking people and tell them politely to get pho and give their seats to the kids so they don't get hurt. My battery totally dies and I sit on the floor in a corner of the train and freaking cry like some sort of crazy lady. That wasn't a great day. When my dad died 12 days ago, apparently even warning people that I was going to be okay, but that I was going to check out for a while wasn't enough. RIPFB, VM, text, and email inboxes. On the plus side, I've learned that I'm pretty loved. My BF's brother's grad party, I straight up looked dead by an hour in, and drinking is what gave me a second wind. Well, they don't call it a social lubricant for nothing. Not one time in general, but pretty much every Friday. That's usually the best day to hang out with one of my friends. For a while we worked together, so it made sense to just head over to his place after work. Every week, without fail, it would go like this. 1. Get to his house at 5 or 6. 2. It gets late. For me, 9:30 or 10. 3. Yeah, I should probably start heading out. 4. Friend and his girlfriend. What? You've only been here a few hours. We're about 2. 5. Or frick yes, I'm staying another 2 hours. I can relate so strongly. Ever since I was a teenager, that 9:30-10 PM feeling would hit me and it was time to go. It is one of the few benefits of getting older. At 17, this was probably a little weird to people, and I ended up staying out far later because I knew it was a little odd. But at 27, it is starting to make a lot more sense. Some friends asked me to dinner. It was kind of understood that it would be just the 3 of us. Go over to their house. Lots of people there. Somebody's birthday. No dinner. I went up to them and said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not staying. We can have dinner together another time. Bye." And walked out. Didn't care who thought I was the butthole. Don't pull that crap on me because you know better. Dinner and party are 2 very different things. While messaging people, I'm known for answering everything several days late because I just don't have the social energy to type out a response. I also find texting to be very stressful. Everyone wants a response ASAP, but I don't always want to be stapled to my phone. That's why I prefer either an email, a social media post people can respond to on their own time, or just an understanding that it won't be a constant back and forth. Most recent, it was in Ireland. My family was so excited to be in a different country and wanted to go check out various pubs. I had to leave them because I was so low on social energy. I was getting a very bad panic attack. I feel really bad. Sorry guys. We never got to have trips like that and we finally get this chance we may never repeat and I had to leave. It really sucks. Well, you definitely shouldn't feel bad. You had no control over the way you were feeling and you left for your own mental health to make yourself feel better. That sucks that it happened but is in no way your fault. So don't guilt trip yourself. About 2 hours into a 20-hour train ride to New York. Sucks being trapped in a metal box for so long with a bunch of people you don't know. Some that are extra chatty because they are bored and want to make friends. Made me kind of wish I bit the bullet and flown instead, because it would a shorter trip, but flying gives me terrible anxiety. Honestly, if you'd have brought headphones it could have helped. If they bother you beyond that, put on a podcast and say you didn't sleep well and need a nap. I'm the introvert who is good at finding acceptable outs. Basically anytime I'm ready to leave a social event and I'm expected to say bye to multiple people, I freaking love just disappearing and leaving with a legitimate huge grin on my face as I make my escape. This is decades ago. I had always been introverted and my sister fixed me up with a friend of hers. We doubled to a Simon and Garfunkel concert. My date was really cute. The concert was great, but I don't think I said 2 words the whole evening. Next day sis calls and tells me I have to do something. I took her advice, got a recommendation for a shrink and 10 years later I was out of the pits. Still was a bit shy but managed to function normally. Now when I tell people I used to be pathologically introverted they don't believe me. I feel like there's a difference between introversion and social anxiety. I think they travel together often. But your situation sounds much more like social anxiety ineptitude than introversion. When I was in Ukraine for 2 weeks visiting some family, we had been outside for at least 12+ hours every single day in the city full of lots of people and having to speak. We went to see the churches and went on this tour to walk around the place. I just couldn't take it anymore and sat down on the floor whenever we stopped walking and switched back to English mode for the rest of the day. Whenever my family tried to speak some Russian Ukrainian to me, I just couldn't respond since it would require me to use some of my willpower that was left to walk. I ran out in the middle of onboarding a program director. I work in HR and I had to do the onboarding by myself cause my boss was out of the country. In the middle of giving my welcome to the company speech, I just complete lost it and went flat. I went from being very energetic and bubbly to sounding like Spark trying to add emotions into his repertoire. During a date, nice and cute guy, but JFC he talked for forever and didn't let me get a word in. Cut the date short so I could go home. Less of running out and more of completely malfunctioning. Was with my crush and I could honestly barely get out a sentence that made sense because I was so nervous. I don't think that's what did me in though because she's also introverted. It was probably more of the me completely missing the signals. Middle of a wedding. It was like 4 degrees Fahrenheit outside and I put on a thin jacket and sat outside for about 2 hours waiting to recharge. When I told myself I was going to extricate a group of people from my life and then they invited me to game night, which inexplicably turned into a road trip to multiple other people's houses in the friend group, and not getting home until 3 AM. I was at a wedding for my friend from grad school. I care for her dearly and her husband is also a good friend of mine. I even flew to New Haven just to be there for them for a single night. I ended up being that gloomy looking guy in the corner. Well, every wedding needs a Boo Radley, I suppose. I stayed up all night cause I couldn't sleep and my friend became friends with this one girl and I kinda liked her but I was super tired and started spewing out random stuff and half of it I don't even remember saying but she thinks I'm gay now. Ah yes, the exhaustion pseudo drunk babble, enemy of all introverts after midnight. I love this thread and threads like it. 2 of my closest pals are introverts. I am an extreme extrovert. My goal is to avoid pressuring them since I cannot relate. My husband is an extrovert but is a lot less energetic so he's happy to leave an event after a few hours. I tend to throw 12-hour parties. I've learned to not ask stupid questions and get better at determining whether someone wants to interact. I hope OP gets gold. What a considerate friend you are. Good for you. Trapped on an 8-hour road trip from Texas to Kansas with 5 people in the car. They all decided to pull out gum at the same time and have a contest to see who could crack it the loudest. I almost pulled a Wile E. Coyote exit at 80 miles per hour. This gave me anxiety. On my 20th birthday, when an entire Johnny Rockets restaurant was singing happy birthday to my twin brother and I had to play it off like I was laughing so hard that I was crying when really I was having a horrible panic attack. At my wedding reception, where you do the first dance, the DJ played a record I'd specifically told him not to. It was a trigger for mental health issues for me, under any circumstances, and I walked off the dance floor, leaving my poor wife wondering what to do. I found out almost 20 years later that I have Asperger's, autism, which alongside something akin to PTSD, due to a bad former relationship led to my reaction. Somehow we're still married 25 years later, so I'd like to offer a public apology to my long-suffering wife Helen. And I still can't dance, no rhythm, 2 left feet etc. Sorry love. Pride. Always pride. I always go thinking this year I'll actually enjoy it, but then I get there and the entire population if Earth is crammed into 3 blocks and I nope out of there in 2 hours. Does this count? I was already fed up with my ex-boyfriend, and I didn't want to go to a work party. He worked for a German company and they had a female intern from Germany. He was the head of the US division. So we're there after the furniture market and they make a toast and some drunk salesman says, "German intern and my boyfriend need to just get it on. We've been together for 3 years by this point and I know this salesman well." I just turn around and drive home, where we live together. We broke up because I couldn't laugh off a joke. I don't think you broke up over a joke. I think that was pretty highly inappropriate, sexist, and degrading for someone to say that to you. This B would have done the same crap you did. I would have driven my butt home. P that my partner thought of me as an object, did not speak up for me and allowed another person to degrade both me and someone else. A girl I knew was telling me she had a crush on someone we both knew and was asking for advice on how to ask them out. In the middle of her telling me, I realized that my social tank was empty and I didn't know what to tell her. After 2 years of living with my partner and sleeping next to him every night, I got invited to a bachelorette party. I had agreed to sleep over so that I didn't drive home. At about 1 AM I decided I couldn't sleep there. I needed to be at my house with my family out of habit or insecurity or depleted social battery if you will. So I called my boyfriend to take me home. I had apologized and spent 5+ hours with them. But the party host, 20 years older than me, shame drunk me for ruining the party, which in turn made me cry, which led to all the other guests blaming me for ruining the party. So instead of politely leaving after a fun night, I sobbed hysterically the whole ride home. Oh god. I was about to go inside of a gas station to get a pack of cigs. Felt confident enough. I get to the cash register and completely forgot how to speak. See, can I get a peepa pack of M mild ma? Can I get a pack of Marlboro Black Menthol 100s? She's looking at me like I'm a freaking weirdo and reluctantly asks for my ID. I pull it out and very slowly slide it on the counter while she has her hand out waiting to grab it. I was trying to conceal my nervous shaking but made it so much more awkward. I wanted to say sorry but I just left. I didn't buy cigarettes myself for 3 years after that. LOL, I don't know what you look like, but there's a 90% chance that cashier thought you were underage using a fake ID and just didn't want to deal with it. I had a panic attack and cried in a bathroom stall at my workplace because I was so overwhelmed by being around other people for so many hours on end. My job has an open layout, no walls anywhere, with lots of talkers. I have on occasion commandeered an empty office, turned the lights off, and sat staring out the window for 40 minutes because all the stimulation gave me the shakes. I feel your pain. I run pub trivia. We've had events with hundreds of people at them, and usually I'm pretty good about staying fairly social and being a good host. That said, a few months ago I hit an absolute wall. I stopped cracking jokes, didn't talk to as many people, and just went through the motions for the rest of the night. At the end of the night, I had a few of the regulars come up and ask me if everything was okay. It was a pretty gut-wrenching moment for me to be out in public in a large group and not be on like I normally am. I kept myself together and just said I was having an off day. From then I've made sure my batteries are full before standing up in front of a crowd with a microphone. It's not the easiest thing in the world to be an introvert and constantly be the center of attention. I very much understand comedians and rock stars that need their alone time before and after their shows and in their lives. During a disco party, a friend pushed a girl I had a small crush on towards me, literally stopped, said nothing and stared at her boobs like 60% of the time, was very young. Funerals. Been a part of the family at 2 funerals of 2 family members within the last year. It's exhausting for me to have to stand there and shake hands and hug people. Some I haven't seen since I was little and some I've never even met. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.